The 5 principles are governing the how, what, why I do with horses, and they kind of underpin everything and give me kind of purpose for what I work with the horses. So we developed these principles on the basis of things that I'd either read from books or time spent with people that have influenced our horsemanship. They're things that to me, underpin the how, what and why we do with horses. Doesn't matter if we're talking about groundwork or ridden, it'll all be the same. If you don't have these principles, if you don't have something that kind of underpins and guides, you can kind of be inconsistent there, and that kind of creates disharmony for the horse, doesn't it? It kind of gets this place where they, you know, am I okay? Am I not okay? Are you going to punish me or reprimand me for something today because I didn't do it yesterday? I did it yesterday, but today I can't. You know, how does the horse know any different? Unless you're consistent about those things, and you have a consistent way of expressing or communicating with the horse to say today's okay, today's not. These principles are things that transcend any discipline, any context, whatnot. They're things that kind of are always relevant to the horse. The 5 principles. One of them is find the horse's neutral, and that can kind of be the ability for the horse to find harmony, balance within its physical and mental state. The horse should be able to not be trying to leave, not be able to, you know, shut down, and happy and willing to be present. As little as possible, as much as necessary. Now, I'll clarify that and say it's not as much as necessary to get whatever it is done, is as much as necessary to get a change of thought, to get a change of attitude towards whatever it is you're asking them to do. We start at a place of intention and build to or layer our presentation to the point that the horse makes the change, makes a change in its mental or physical state. But ultimately, we're aspiring to the change of thought. The following principle that we work to is create clear contrast. The horse needs to be able to understand, is a question being asked of it, or are you just being loud and obnoxious? You know, so often the horse has to be interpretive and understand what is being asked of it. The clearer, the more black and white we can be with the horse, the happier it is and it understands. Generally, once the horse understands what's being asked of it, if it's not overwhelming or too much for it, the horse will oblige, and they're pretty amazing like that. So the next principle that we work to is ask the question and then release of the question. So that is this idea that you don't hold them in whatever it is you do. You ask something of them, get the change, and then reward the try. And that's something, again, that we got to work with in whatever context, is not holding them in these binds, not holding them in contact or pressure, but rather get a change, get the slightest shift of weight, or get a softening of the eye or a twitching of the nose or something like that, and release these things when they kind of are meaningful or along the lines of what you're working towards and what it is you're aspiring to. So the last of the principles that I work to is ask a question before you ask the question. That is this whole prepare the position to before the transition. Prepare the horse for the fact that a question is coming before you ask the question. So often what happens is people will ask the horse to do something, and the horse's focus, the horse's attention, the horse's mind is elsewhere. And that creates disconnection. That creates this place where the human ends up getting too loud, and then the horse reacts because it wasn't present, its mind wasn't there. And so getting their focus, getting their attention before you ask a question of them ensures that they're ready and they're listening and they're understanding. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about riding them or working with them. So often what will happen is, like, the horse will be out here and someone's starting to ask them a question and they're kind of going, oh shit, where did this come from? Why? Because their mind wasn't present. Their mind wasn't looking to the handler, to the leader, to the rider. And again, why we use the analogy, or why I love training to the analogy of a dance partnership. If you were dancing with someone and they're dancing with you like this and they're looking out over here kind of being, you know, more interested in what's going on out there, the reality is they're not present with you. They're not in that moment. And so the more and more we condition the horse to look to the partner and look and work together, that's where this idea of true unity comes about. They kind of start they look to the handler and go, well, what's next? Rather than just anticipating, rather than just doing whatever they feel they ought to or need to do.